Year 36-211 BCE, the planet Mars approached the Heart constellation. A star fell in Dongzhen, turning into a stone upon hitting the ground. Some commoners inscribed on the stone, "After the first emperor dies, the land will be divided." When the emperor heard this, he sent imperial censors to interrogate the locals, but no one admitted guilt. Thus he arrested and executed all residents near the stone, and had the stone melted down with fire. The emperor was displeased, so he ordered scholars to compose the Hymn of Immortal Sages, which chronicled his imperial tours across the realm, and instructed musicians to set it to music for performance. An autumn envoy traveling from Guangdong passed through Hui in Pingshu at night. A man holding a jade disc stopped him, saying, "Deliver this to Lord A Chaoichi from." He added, "This year, Zulong will die." When the envoy asked for an explanation, the man suddenly vanished, leaving only the jade disc. The envoy presented the disc to the court. The emperor was silent for a long time before saying, "Mountain spirits only know things within a year." After retiring from court, he remarked, "Shi Long refers to the ruler of men." He sent officials from the royal treasury to examine the disc, and it turned out to be the very one he had dropped into the river during his tour in year 28. The emperor then ordered divination, and the hexagram indicated good fortune from travel and relocation. He therefore commanded 30,000 households to relocate to Bai and Yuzong, and awarded each household a rank of nobility. Year 37-210 BCE, on the day of Jiu, Ichu in the 10th month, the emperor embarked on an imperial tour. Left Chancellor Li Si accompanied him, while Right Chancellor Feng Yujie I stayed behind to govern the capital. Hu Hai, the emperor's youngest son, eagerly requested to join the tour, and the emperor agreed. The entourage reached Yun Mengze, where they offered remote sacrifices to Yushan at Jiuyue Mountain. They sailed downstream along the Yangtze River, visited Jiai, and crossed Haishu. Passing through Longyang, they arrived at Qiongtai. Faced with the turbulent waves of the Zhe River, they traveled west for 120 li and crossed at a narrow section. The emperor climbed Mount Kuaiji, sacrificed to Yu the Great, offered remote prayers to the South China Sea, and erected a stone stele on the mountain to praise the merits of the Qin Dynasty. The inscription read, "And the emperor has accomplished great deeds, pacifying and unifying the realm. His benevolence and grace endure forever." Reigning for 37 years, he has personally inspected the empire, visiting even the farthest lands. While ascending Mount Kuaiji, he observes local customs, and the commoners are pious and solemn. Ministers sing his praises, recalling the origins of his undertakings and tracing his wise decisions. The sage ruler of Qin established laws and penalties, clarifying ancient regulations. He initially set systems and norms, reviewed official duties, and thus created enduring principles. The 6 kings ruled arbitrarily, greedy, perverse, and arrogant, leading their people to pursue power. They acted with wanton cruelty, were arrogant and self-righteous, and repeatedly instigated wars. They secretly sent spies, sought alliances against Qin, and behaved in evil and unrestrained ways. Hypocritical and deceitful internally, they invaded borders externally, ultimately bringing disaster upon themselves. The emperor raised righteous troops, conquered and suppressed the tyrannical, and eliminated rebellious ministers. His sacred virtue is grand and meticulous, all within the 4 seas enjoy boundless grace. Having unified the realm, the emperor manages all affairs, bringing order to both near and far. He plans and governs all things, examines the essence of matters, and defines each one's proper role. Noble or humble, good or evil, black or white, nothing is concealed. Those who falsely preach morality, remarry after their husband's death, and betray their deceased spouses are unfaithful. Separate inner and outer spheres, prohibit excess and indulgence, so that men and women maintain purity. If a husband commits adultery, killing him is not a crime. Men must abide by norm. Her children shall disown her as mother. Customs shall be upright and pure. Great governance transforms traditions, the realm accepts education and achieves good order. Everyone abides by laws, living in peace and sincerity, and none dare violate decree. The commoners cultivate virtue, delight in upholding the legal system, and jointly preserve peace. Future generations shall obey the law, ensuring long-term stability, and the ship of state shall never capsize. Ministers praise this great achievement and request to erect a stone stele, so that this inscription may endure for eternity. When the emperor returned, he passed through Wuxian and crossed the Yangtze River by boat. He traveled north along the coast to Lenya. The alchemist Zhu Fu and others had been searching for immortal medicines in the sea for years without success. Having wasted enormous resources, they feared punishment and deceived the emperor, saying, "The immortal medicines on Penglai Island are obtainable, but I am constantly hindered by a giant shark, so I cannot reach it. I request to take skilled archers with me. When we see the shark, we will shoot it with repeating crossbows." The emperor dreamed of battling a sea god who had a human face. He ordered divination for the dream, and the scholars said, "The water god cannot be seen. He reveals himself through giant fish and flood dragons. Now your majesty prays and sacrifices devoutly, yet dreams of such an evil spirit. You should eliminate it, and then the good god will appear." The emperor then ordered the sea voyagers to carry equipment for catching giant fish, and he himself took a repeating crossbow, waiting to shoot if a giant fish appeared. From Lanyan north to Rongcheng Mountain, no giant fish were encountered. When they reached Zihifu Mountain, they finally saw giant fish and shot one dead. The emperor then traveled west along the coast. The emperor fell ill upon arriving at Pingyuan Fort. He detested discussions of death, so none of his ministers dared mention it. As his condition worsened, he wrote a letter sealed with the imperial seal, granting it to his son Fusu, which read, "Return to escort my coffin back to Xianyang for burial." The letter was sealed and placed in the care of Xiao Gao, the director of the palace carriage office, who oversaw imperial seals and tallies, but was not delivered to the messenger. On the day of Bingyan in the 7th month, the emperor died at Sanjun platform. Fearing that the imperial princes and the people might stir up trouble if they learned the emperor had died outside the capital, concealed the news and did not hold a funeral. The emperor's coffin was carried in a Wenyang and enclosed, air-conditioned carriage. His favored eunuchs rode in the carriage beside it, presenting food and drink as usual. Officials still submitted reports on state affairs, and the eunuchs would approve the reports from inside the Wenliang carriage. Only Prince Hu Hai, Xiao Gao, and 5 or 6 close eunuchs knew of the emperor's death. Xiao Gao had previously taught Hu Hai calligraphy and laws related to punishments and prisons, and Hu Hai was privately close to him. Xiao Gao secretly conspired with Hu Hai and Chancellor Li Si to destroy the sealed letter to Fusu. Instead, they falsely claimed that Li Si had received the emperor's last edict, Tats and Dun, appointing Hu Hai as the crown prince. They also wrote a separate edict to Fusu and Mentian, listing their crimes and ordering them to commit suicide. Details of these events are recorded in the biography of Li Si. The entourage continued onward, eventually traveling from Jingxing to Jiayuyuan. It was midsummer, and the emperor's body in the Wenliang carriage began to decompose and emit a foul odor. Li Si therefore issued an edict ordering each accompanying official's carriage to carry at and about 30 kg of salted fish to mask the stench of the emperor's corpse. The group returned to Xianyang via the straight road, and only then announced the emperor's death. Crown Prince Hu Hai ascended the throne as the second emperor. The emperor was buried at Lish. When the emperor had first ascended the throne, he had ordered the excavation of Lish and to build his mausoleum. After unifying the realm, he conscripted over 700,000 convicts to work on it. The tomb was dug down to the level of the 3rd layer of groundwater, and the outer coffin was cast with molten copper. The interior of the mausoleum was filled with palaces, government offices, and rare treasures. The emperor commanded craftsmen to install mechanical crossbows. Anyone who dug into the tomb and approached the burial chamber would be shot. Mercury was used inside to replicate rivers and seas, circulated by mechanical devices. The ceiling was adorned with representations of the sun, moon, and stars, while the floor depicted mountains and landscapes. Made from the fat of mermaids were placed inside, intended to burn for a very long time. The second emperor said, "It is inappropriate to release the imperial concubines who have no sons." He ordered them all to be buried alive with the emperor, and a great many people died. After the burial, some remarked that the craftsmen who had built the mechanical devices knew the location of the treasures inside, and feared the news of the treasures might leak out. Once the funeral was completed, the treasures were sealed away, the tomb passage gates were closed, and the craftsmen and treasures were wrapped inside. None escaped. Trees and vegetation were then planted on the burial mound, making it look like an ordinary hill.